The Guardian reports after Bieber's tweet, the social startup shot up into the top 100 free apps. Bieber's tweet wasn't the first time Stamped heard from Justin. Forbes reported in May he's already invested in Stamped and, of course, started stamping.
I'm Bart. I'm a co-founder of a company called Stamped. And Stamped is basically a new way for people to discover quality recommendations from those they trust. And so there's a lot of services today out there where you get reviews and ratings from strangers, anonymous crowds, and we realize that people really rely on those they know and trust to get things like restaurants and books and movies and music. So on Stamped, you can put your stamp of approval, literally, on things you like best, and then follow people you know and trust to get really good recommendations about things you want to go do. So I was at Google before Stamped for a couple years, and I met my other co-founder there. And while we were there, we basically would talk about in our free time how, you know, if you think about the reviews and ratings space, about the Yelps and TripAdvisors, they haven't really changed in 5-10 years. And we thought to ourselves, wow, there's a really big opportunity to take all the stuff that we know our friends do offline. We always get spreadsheets and emails from people being like, here are all my favorite restaurants in Florida, or here's my book recommendations you have to read, and putting it onto a first-class platform that technology would really help and make better and more useful. So the impetus was actually the idea. We really wanted to go build this. We knew we had to build this product. We just thought it was too big of an opportunity to sit down on. When I left, my boss at Google told me that 99.9% of business is just people. It's all just people, and don't ever forget that. It's not how smart you are. It's not what you know. It's just how people interact with people. And I'm sort of surprised continually about how much of what our successes and failures are relate to the people we put together in our team and the people we interact with externally, and different personalities clashing together or getting along together. I think you kind of think that you just pick some engineers, some designers, some business people, put them together and build a company, but the people make up so much of what ends up happening. It's all you do all day, just talk and think of ideas. And I think it's been really surprising how much of the emotional element of human personality takes into account. Every day at Stamped, I had the nice perspective of, at least, you know, when it's your own thing, like, you always can come back to that and say, at the end of the day, my failures and my successes are mine and mine alone. And it takes, to be an entrepreneur, you have to want that. And so nothing, even with the failures we've had, and you know, we've had there's failures with people you bring in and things that go wrong with the product, but you still, at the end of the day, it's yours. And that always ends up keeping me from being like, you know what, I'm happy I did this because this is mine, that's what I wanted. It's pretty hard to be a boss because, you know, you're hiring really smart people on the team, and, you know, managing and balancing, like telling people what to do, giving them the freedom to do what they want. It's a really hard act to actually accomplish. And I think being an actual manager of some sorts, we're a 9-person company. I'm not really a manager of anybody, but it's having to be accountable for people, like the emotional toll of knowing that someone quit their job to go join the company I started, and making sure they have they feel like they really enjoy their experience. I thought it was going to be easy, but it's very hard because people like I said, are very complex emotional creatures, and making sure that everyone's happy and motivated and feeling like they made the right decision to join Stamped is a very hard thing. I have a work-girlfriend balance. It's either one or the other. The life has sort of fallen by the wayside. I basically try to make as much room for her as possible, and my friend count has been slowly dwindling down to about 1 or 2. But I think what you have to do, I think I basically accepted that I'm going to be on 24 hours a day no matter what. Like, I always want to care about my startup. I'm always checking emails and thinking about it. So I try to put a cap on what I actually spend in the office, so I'm like out of there by a reasonable time, because in this day and age, I don't really need to be sitting there to like be working. And so I might as well at least be ignoring my girlfriend in person as opposed to at the office. And so I feel better doing it on my phone when I'm staying at dinner with her as opposed to being in the office and doing it, although she doesn't probably think that. Don't start a company because you want to start a company. Start a company because you have something that you really want to go build. I think that's the biggest myth right now in like entrepreneurship and startup land, is that you should just go quit and start something. But if you're not really passionate about what you're trying to do and trying to solve a problem or a service, it can be a small problem, a big problem, but you need to have something you want to go do, because a startup is hard. It's not fun most of the time, and if you don't have and along the way, you're gonna be a lot of people who tell you your idea is stupid, that your product doesn't work, and if you don't actually believe in it and you're just doing it because you want to start a company, you're gonna give up. And so you have to really believe in what you're doing. And I think, you know, the number one advice is make sure you have something you really want to go build before you go take that leap, and don't just go build something and go build something.